Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am back today to share with you guys some more 2021 favorites, and today we are going to be tackling face products. I'm talking about foundations, concealers, primers, and even powders. I'm going to share with you guys the best of the best from 2021, and we again are doing it in kind of an awards ceremony fashion. So once again, I have some different awards to hand out within the different makeup categories, and with all of these, I'm going to share with you guys the runners up as well, so you know what was kind of in the running, spreading out the love a little bit. Hope you guys are excited about it. Before we jump into it, special welcome to my new visitors here. Happy to have you here. I hope you enjoy this video today. If you do, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure that you are subscribed before you leave. With all of that out of the way, let's get right into the awards. Alright, so we're kicking things off with foundations. I have tried out a lot of great foundations this last year, but there's also been some old standbys that are going to get some awards as well, so good mix. And my first award is Affordability. The nominations for the best affordable foundation from 2021 are the Wet n Wild Dewy Foundation, the Essence Pretty Natural Foundation, and the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Foundation. And the winner for the Affordability Award for 2021 goes to the Wet n Wild Dewy Foundation. I have to hand it to this foundation. It is such a good one still. Now, I think this has actually been around for longer than this last year. I think this came out, was it last summer sometime in 2020? I know I've had this one for a while, but I still think it's so great, especially for the price. You can pick this whole bottle of foundation, which does include nearly a full ounce. It has 0.95 fluid ounces inside for under $5. And it is a really good one if you have dry skin, if you like something hydrating, very dewy, with a really nice kind of dewy finish that's good medium coverage. Now, I like the other nominations as well, but I think this one has a little bit better coverage than the Essence one, and I also think it's more hydrating than the Pretty Fresh one, which I do like that foundation, but considering the price difference, had to give the award to the Wet n Wild. I am wearing this foundation on my skin today. Once again, was just reminded of why I love this so much and why I continue to reach for it. The only drawback to this one, at least for me, is the wear time. It's not the most long wearing foundation. This gives me a good 6 hours of wear, I would say, before it starts to kind of break down or rub off of my face, but I don't mind that at all. I've mentioned before that a good 6-hour foundation is pretty much all I need on an average day. But just keep that in mind if you need something long wearing. This is probably not going to be that for you, or if you have more normal to oily skin. This is quite dewy, so this might not be the best option for you, but I love it for my dry skin, and I especially love it for the price. Next award is for the Lightweight Foundation of 2021, and the nominations for the lightweight category are the Natasha Denona Face Glow Foundation, the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue Foundation, and the L'Oreal Age Perfect Serum Foundation. And the winner in the lightweight category goes to the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue Foundation. I gave the award to this one. Honestly, all of these foundations remind me a little bit of each other. They're all nearly dupes for each other. I mean, they have very similar finishes, very similar coverage levels. I just really like the scent of this one. It includes a little bit more product. It has 1.2 ounces in it, and it's a really fantastic shade match for me. I have the shade 2W1. Really good foundation if you like something a little bit more liquidy, a little bit lightweight, but something that's still going to give you some hydration. I wouldn't quite call this dewy in the way that I think the Wet n Wild foundation is dewy or hydrating. This has a bit more of a satiny finish, but it gives me a good amount of hydration as well. It feels very lightweight on the skin. It blends very easily. It applies with anything that I want to apply it with, my hands, a brush, or a sponge. All around a really nice foundation, especially for those of you that have more dry kind of aging skin. I do think especially the L'Oreal one is a really good close dupe or alternative for this one if you're on a budget. That one is a little bit more affordable. I wouldn't say it's cheap. I mean, it's not Wet n Wild cheap. It's still going to set you back a good $12 to $14, but it is pretty similar to this one, so if you're looking to save a little bit of money, that's a good option. But I've got to give it to the Hydra Rescue. Really nice lightweight foundation, one that really impressed me, and a different kind of formula than a lot of the ones that I typically like. Next up is the hydration category. You guys know I love my hydrating foundations, and my nominations for this category are the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Foundation, the Misha BB Cream, and the IT Cosmetics CC Cream Illumination. And the winner of the 2021 Hydration Award goes to the IT Cosmetics CC Cream Illumination. This one was really tough. All three of those were really good options for me. Ones that were go-tos, especially when I'm really wanting something dewy and hydrating when my skin's feeling extra dry. But I have to still hand it to this one. This has been a long time favorite and award winner here on my channel. This was, I think, in my first year-end awards that I ever did about 3 years ago. Or was it 4 years ago? How long have I been doing this? Honestly, time. I try to avoid thinking about it, but this is still one of my very favorite foundations. After all these years, years, after all that I have tried, every time I go back to this one, it impresses me so much. It's very hydrating. It's very thick and kind of rich feeling, but it doesn't feel heavy on my skin. I really love the way this feels, and it does have good skincare ingredients inside. This is one of the foundations that when I put this on my skin, I almost feel like it's like putting a very subtle blurring filter on my skin. I don't know if it's the luminescent quality that's in this. It does have like a very subtle, very subtle pearly kind of finish. I know that sounds very scary maybe to some of you, but that tiny amount of glow just makes my skin look really nice and healthy. I just feel like I put this on and I look a couple of years younger. Maybe it's all in my head, but it's still something I think every time I use this foundation, I look in the mirror and I think, oh, my skin looks really nice. And you can't beat that, right? Definite award winner, still a favorite of mine after all this time, and one of the best hydrating foundations that I own. Next up is the Longwear category, and my nominations for Longwear foundation from 2021 are the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation, the L'Oreal Infallible Freshwear Foundation, and the Dior Backstage Foundation. And the winner of the Longwear award goes to the L'Oreal Infallible Freshwear Foundation. This one probably did not surprise you guys very much. This is by far the best long wearing foundation that I have ever tried. Now there's a little bit of an asterisk to this one. I have to be careful in how I prep my skin for this foundation. I need to make sure that I use either an extra layer of moisturizer or a really good hydrating primer. Otherwise this foundation can be a little bit drying on me. But that said, there's nothing that lasts as well as this one. There's also nothing that's quite as I wouldn't say transfer proof, but transfer resistant as this foundation right here. It's also the foundation that's kind of my go-to in the summertime when I want something that's gonna last all day. Maybe if I'm out in the hot sun or the heat. This is the foundation that is reliable in those situations. Really long wearing. It is really nice and lightweight. It's very liquidy, but you can build this up to a solid medium coverage. I use the shade 425 Linen, which works really well for me. This is my second bottle. I'm already about halfway done, and I'll continue to buy this thing. It's also one of my favorite foundations to mix into other foundations to help them have a little bit more life or lasting power. It's a staple in my collection and the obvious winner for Longwear. Next up is the Worth the Price Award, and my nominations for the foundation Worth the Price go to the Dior Backstage Foundation, the IT Cosmetics CC Cream Illumination Foundation, and the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation. And the winner for the Worth the Price Award goes to the Dior Backstage Foundation. This is a pretty new try for me. I've only had this for about 2 months now, but the more I've used this, the more it has really impressed me. It's a very basic foundation, but it covers all of my kind of check boxes. It has a really nice coverage, good solid medium coverage. It's the perfect shade match for me, which is always a bonus. By the way, this is the shade 2N. Has pretty good wear time for me. I can get a solid 8 hours of wear time out of this before it starts to kind of break down or look a little bit oily along the sides of my nose. But more than anything is the value of this one. This is anytime I'm talking about something worth the price when it comes to higher end makeup, I always love something that gives you a little bit of bang for your buck, and this one definitely does that, which is kind of surprising because it is Dior. But this bottle, which I don't think is too outrageously priced, does include a lot of product. It gives you 50 milliliters, which is 1.6 ounces. That's a lot more than a typical foundation gives you. Usually they give you about an ounce, and I always love when something gives you a little bit of bonus product. You guys know I'm all about something that has some value in it, and I'm always holding it against products that don't give you value or try and kind of trick you into thinking that they have more product inside them than they actually do. Milani lip gloss. It's just a really good foundation overall. I really like the simple packaging. It's good and travel friendly. It includes a lot of product. It works really well for me. It's a good shade match. And those are all the reasons that I think this is worth the price. Last category is the Perfect 10 category. This is the best foundation of the year. It's kind of the Academy Award for Best Picture, basically. And my nominations for the Perfect 10 foundation of 2021 go to the IT Cosmetics CC Cream Illumination, the Mizon Snell Repair BB Cream, and the Dior Backstage Foundation. And the winner for the Perfect 10 foundation of 2021 goes to the Mizon Snell Repair BB Cream. I imagine this is not a surprise if you have been following me for the course of the year. I tried this out, I think, early on in maybe February, and I instantly fell in love with this foundation. In fact, I still remember titling that video where I tried this out something along the lines of, this is the best foundation that I've ever tried, and I still feel that way. This is my Perfect 10 foundation. It ticks all of my foundation boxes. Really good coverage, nice and hydrating, perfect shade match. This is the shade number 27. Easy to apply with any method. It has SPF of 50 inside. It looks amazing on my skin. I cannot say enough good things about this. I actually don't know what snail properties are in this. I've heard that there's something about snails, something or other that's good for your skin. I honestly don't really want to know. It's like the people that say you shouldn't find out how sausage is made. I'm not sure I really want to know what snail properties are inside this, but it seems to work wonders for my skin. Looks amazing, feels amazing. It's even pretty affordable. You can find this sometimes on Amazon, always on Yes Style, for around $9 to $12 a bottle, and this gives you 1.76 ounces. So there's a lot of product inside here. This whole tube has lasted me the whole year. I'm getting very close to the end here, but I have used this thing so much this last year. It is by far my #1 foundation of 2021, which is why it's getting the Perfect 10 award. All right, let's move on to concealers. And my first award in the concealer category is for affordability. The nominations for the Affordability Award for 2021 are the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, the Same Tip Concealer, and the Wet n Wild Incognito Concealer. And the winner for affordability in the concealer category goes to the Wet n Wild Incognito Concealer. This is such a great little powerhouse concealer. I don't know why I initially thought that this would not work for me, because I've had some bad experiences with Wet n Wild concealers in the past, but I've been pleasantly surprised with how well this has worked for me. It has good medium-high coverage. It's not too heavy as long as I don't use too much product. It's actually a pretty nice shade match for me as well. This one is in the shade Light Honey, and you guys, the price on this thing, you can get this for under $5, which is amazing. For a concealer that performs this well, that has this level of coverage, and is this easy to get your hands on, you can get Wet n Wild at almost any drugstore. At least I can where I live. I can find this in any drugstore that I go to. I think it's such a great one. It's a little bit maybe has been a little bit underrated by me. I know I raved about this towards the beginning of the year, but I've gone back to it again recently and was just reminded of how great this is. It is the concealer that I'm wearing on my face today, and I just think it is so, so good. Next up is the award for the Lightweight Concealer of 2021, and the nominations for the Lightweight Award go to the Hope Girl New Concealer Base, the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer, and the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer. And the winner for the Lightweight Concealer of 2021 goes to the Hope Girl Nude Concealer Base. This one was really tricky. I have to give the win to the Hope Girl Concealer though, because of how much I've actually used this concealer over the last 8 months. Initially, I wasn't super impressed with it, but I slowly started gravitating towards this concealer, and it's kind of become my go-to, especially for highlighting the center of my face and using on this very delicate under eye area that tends to get very dark. I absolutely love this concealer. It is really nice and lightweight on me. Now, I actually do think that maybe the Maybelline Age Rewind is even a little bit more lightweight than this one, but this one just gives me a tiny bit more coverage than that one, and is maybe even a little bit more hydrating than that one. But if you are looking for something super sheer and liquidy that still gives you pretty good coverage, that might be a good option for you. But I have to give the win to this one because I've just enjoyed this concealer so much this last year. Such a good concealer, really nice and lightweight, one that I've loved reaching for this last year. Next up, we have the under eye category. Such an important category when it comes to concealer, and such a hard thing to find. It's like the leprechaun of concealers. But my nominations for under eye concealer for 2021 are the Kosas Revealer Concealer, the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye, and again, the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. And the winner for the under eye concealer of 2021 goes to the Kosas Revealer Concealer. This one's pretty easy for me. I love all of those concealers, especially for my under eye area, but this is one of the best concealers for the under eye area because it combines everything I need and love in a good under eye concealer. It's very nice and hydrating, but it's not so hydrating that it's going to crease, but it's also not so dry or doesn't set down so much that it's going to be drying or cakey on my under eye area. It walks that very fine line pun intended, for an under eye concealer. I absolutely love this. This is one of my best concealer discoveries this last year, and one of the ones that I've enjoyed reaching for the most. Another great thing about this, it is a more high-end concealer. It is pretty pricey. There are good affordable options here for you guys today as well, but the thing I love so much about this one is the shade range. There's so many shades to pick from in the Kosas concealers. There are so many shades and so many undertones within each of those shades, which is so incredibly helpful. I actually have two shades. I have this one, which is the shade 4, and then I have this shade right here, which is 3.2. I'm actually going to swatch these for you guys. I know I've done this before, but in case you're new here, just so you can see the subtle differences in these two. And it doesn't just have to do with how light or how dark they are, but their undertones. So this one up here is the shade number 4, which has a little bit more kind of peachy yellow in it. This works really well for me on the perimeter of my face, on any blemishes. But this one right here, which is the shade 3.2, you can see it's just a tiny, tiny bit lighter. And it also has the tiniest amount of an olivey kind of green undertone to it that actually works really well for canceling out redness. And that's especially a problem with any like acne scars that I have around my nose. I'm always red here around my nose, and even this little pocket area right there that I get some redness or some purple. It does a great job of canceling that out in addition to covering it up. So that's something that I think is super helpful. Fantastic concealer. One of my very favorites, especially for the under eye area that can be so difficult. Next up is the worth the money category for concealer. And my nominations for the concealer worth the money for 2021 go to the Dior Forever Skin Concealer, the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer, and the Tarte Ultra Creamy Concealer. And the winner for worth the price concealer of 2021 goes to the Dior Forever Skin Concealer. This one was again pretty tricky. All three of those are great nominations, but I've got to say, you guys, my love for this high-end concealer has surpassed my love for the Too Faced concealer. I will just say that. Now that has been a winner, I think the last 2 years that was an award winner. I think the Too Faced one gives you 0.5 ounces, which that's a ton. I mean, that is the only concealer of that size that I've ever come across. So value alone, that one would take the win, but I just like this concealer a little bit better for me. It is a little bit more hydrating. It's a little bit more blendable. It blends into my skin a little bit better. I have noticed now that I've tried a lot of different concealers going back to the Too Faced, which I do think is still a really nice one. That one, it can look a little bit dry on my skin, I've noticed. And this one definitely does not do that. Still get really good value with this one. It includes 0.37 ounces, which is quite a bit of product. Just as a frame of reference, the Kosas includes 0.20 ounces. So this has almost double what the Kosas has for about the same price. I just think the world of this thing. If you like higher end makeup, I mean, who doesn't love Dior? Their packaging just looks so very fancy and high end. But the product works great and the price is not too bad considering price per amount of product. And if you like higher end makeup that makes you feel a little fancy, this is a really, really good one. Next up is the Full Coverage Award. My nominations for Full Coverage Concealer of 2021 go to the CoverGirl True Blend Concealer, the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye, and the BH Cosmetics Total Coverage Concealer. And the winner for Full Coverage Concealer of 2021 goes to the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. Again, all of these were great nominations, but nothing quite beats the coverage that this concealer gives. This is another concealer that I feel like I need to give kind of a caution or a warning when it comes to applying this concealer, because this one can be very heavy and can be very cakey if you're not very careful in how much you apply and how you apply it. I have to be very light-handed with this concealer, and I also can only apply this one with my finger. At least that's what I have found with my skin. That's the only way I can get this to really blend into my skin. I need the warmth of my finger because it's such a unique formula. But I tell you guys, this stuff could cover absolutely anything. When I have something like something really, really red or really, really difficult or stubborn that I need to cover, or maybe I have really dark, heavy bags, maybe I didn't get a good night's sleep, this is the one I reach for. Now it does take a little bit longer to apply this one. So on an everyday basis, I'll usually reach for really any of these other concealers that I've talked about today because they're a little bit quicker to apply. I can just tap them on, blend them in with a sponge and be good to go. This one requires a little bit more patience. It requires a little bit more time, but I'm telling you guys, this gives me coverage unlike anything else. I love it. It's a go-to for me and definitely the best full coverage concealer from 2021. Next up, Perfect 10 category for concealer. And my nominations for Perfect 10 concealer of 2021 are the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, the Kosas Revealer Concealer, and the Revlon Candid Concealer. And the winner for Perfect 10 concealer of 2021 goes to the Revlon Candid Concealer. I'm pretty sure this won my concealer award last year as well. I still think this is like the ultimate concealer because it's really, really good, but it's such a great price. Now I have other high-end favorites that I don't even necessarily think that I like them a little bit more. I maybe like them for different purposes or different reasons, but this is just a good all-around concealer for me. It works great on blemishes. It works great on my under eyes. I can use it as an eyeshadow primer. It wears really well on me. It's hydrating but doesn't crease on me. It's everything I love in a good concealer at an affordable price, which is why I'm giving it the Perfect 10 award. I still think this is one of the best concealers at the drugs. No, not one of the best. I think this is the best concealer at the drugstore, at least in what I have tried and what I like from a concealer. Unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder to find. I'm nervous that they're going to discontinue this soon, which is probably not that big of a deal because I literally have 5 or 6 tubes of this on backup. I saw it on sale at Walgreens several months ago and I stocked up. I will be sad for you guys if they ever discontinue this, but for me, I have plenty on backup and I'll continue to use this over and over again over the years because it is my very favorite concealer. That is it for concealers. Let's move on to powders. Now this one we're going to do a little bit differently because because if you've been watching me for a while, you will know that I'm not a big powder person. Like, I use powder, but it's a very functional product. I don't like to try out a lot of different powders. It's not a product I get excited over, but there are some that I do really like that work well for me. So we're just going to go into one award, and that is for the Perfect 10 powder. And my nominations for the Perfect 10 powder award go to the RCMA No Color powder, the Rimmel Stay Matte powder, and the e.l.f. Halo Glow powder. And the winner for Perfect 10 powder of 2021 goes to the Rimmel Stay Matte powder. Again, I am sure you guys are not surprised by this one. This is the powder that I use in almost every video. Anytime I'm not really thinking about my makeup or deliberately trying to use up other things in my collection, this is just my go-to powder. Now, I do like the other ones that I mentioned as well, but they're both loose powders, and I think loose powders are a little bit harder to work with. This one's just a little bit easier. Having a pressed powder that is still this nice and lightweight, I mean, this stuff it literally goes on like almost nothing, which is a necessity for me. I don't like something that's going to powder down my foundation. I really just want something that's going to set strategic areas in place, because I like my foundation to stay nice and glowy. But this does a great job of just setting down the areas I get heavy settling, like my forehead wrinkles, my little line here on my forehead, and my smile lines right here. It's great. It's nice and lightweight. It's easy to use. I leave this in my top drawer at all times with the brush right next to it, and literally I dip into this almost on a daily basis. Such a good, easy powder. It's affordable. It's easy to replace. I think this is my third pan of this stuff. I sincerely hope they never discontinue it, because this is a definite go-to for me. Perfect 10 powder for 2021 and probably every year hereafter. Next up is the primer category. Now again, kind of like I am with powders, if you guys have been watching me for a while, you will know that I haven't always been on board with the primers. I don't always use them. If there's ever a step that I'm looking to cut out of my makeup routine, primer is the first thing to go, because I find that as long as I moisturize really well and prep my skin with a good moisturizer, I don't really need it. But that said, this last year especially, I've started to come around to primers in general, and I've discovered some that I really do enjoy. So rather than having runners up within each of these awards, I'm just going to have one winner, because again, I don't try out a lot of them. But I do have some awards to hand out, and the first award is for the most pleasant primer of 2021. And the winner for this one, we'll just abandon the envelope and get right to it, is the Ofra Cool as a Cucumber primer. I love this primer. It is so enjoyable to use. It has a really nice soft cucumber scent, which I think I've said this before, but I'm actually not a big fan of a cucumber scent. Like, I typically have not been one to like those like cucumber melon scented soaps and lotions, that type of thing. But there's something really soft and pleasant about this. It smells really nice and fresh. It's a very subtle scent, but it's really fresh. It's really enjoyable. It's a nice hydrating foundation. It does feel nice and cool on the skin as you're putting it on. It does help prep my skin and give it a little added hydration before I go in with foundation. Next up is the Affordability Award, and my winner for Affordable Primer of 2021, I'm going to give to the Flower Beauty Celestial Supernova Celestial Priming Whip. This is such a fun primer. Now, initially I wasn't sure I liked this because it's very, very different. It does come out as a mousse, but man, you guys, who doesn't love a good mousse, right? Whether it's a mousse for your hair or whipped cream in a can. This is a really nice primer though. This one is very hydrating, but it has more of a like almost very subtly tacky finish or feel to it, which I actually really enjoy. I think it makes my foundation go on just a little bit better. Now, I don't necessarily think this or really any primer that I'm talking about or that I've tried make my foundations last longer. Maybe that's a much more detailed scientific experiment that I just have not done yet, but I do enjoy using it when I want to spend a little bit more time with my makeup. I do think it does a good job prepping for foundation, and it's one that I've really enjoyed that is still pretty affordable. Last award is the Glowy Award. I've got to give this one to the Milani Soft Focus Glow. This one was a little bit tricky because I actually think there's a couple that could have made the running for this one, including the Maybelline 4-in-1 that I seem to constantly complain about, but really it's just the packaging of this product that I don't like. These I think are very, very similar. I think formula-wise, the way they feel and look on my skin is almost identical. I just like the packaging of this one a little bit better. I've had it a little bit longer. It's a really nice hydrating primer that gives me just a little bit of glow, which I really enjoy. It's affordable if you can find it. Do they still make this? I actually haven't linked it for a while, so I'll check down below. I'll link it for you guys if I can find it. If they don't, though, I would recommend this one if you can get past the kind of obnoxious packaging. I don't know why this bothers me so bad. I just don't like this kind of packaging. I didn't like it that much in their concealer, but I especially don't like it in a product like this because I need too much product and it's kind of hard to apply just with the sponge applicator. But no more complaining about that. I've complained about it in like 4 videos. It is a nice product. It's just a little bit obnoxious. But if you're looking for something glowy and you can't find the Milani, that's a good option. That is it. Those are all of my winners for face products from 2021. Foundations, concealers, primers, powder. These are all the ones I think were the best from this last year. Let me know, are you guys surprised by any of these winners? Are you surprised what maybe didn't make it in? And above all, what would be your winner for each of these awards? I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you guys are doing well. Let me remind you one more time, please subscribe to my channel before you leave. But that's all for today. Thanks again, you guys. I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye.